It's basically when you want to manage lots of machines, right? We can make use of your configuration management. So, especially when you have lots of, when I say lots of machine, it can be hundreds of machines, it can be thousands of machines. And when you want to manage all these machines, for example, let's say you want to install Java on 500 machines. Now imagine the effort that you have to put in to install Java on all 500 machines. Now, the same thing we can achieve by making use of your configuration management. So with your configuration management, generally when we talk about your configuration management, we'll have a control machine, and then we will have a remote machine. Now, control machine is basically the machine which will help you to control your remote machines. And remote machines are any machines which are controlled by the remote machines. Okay, so now like I said, you want to install Java. So what you can do is on this control machine. So the first thing we will have to do is we have to establish the connectivity to the remote machines, right? So your control machine should be able to talk to the remote machines. So we'll first establish the connectivity. There are different ways that we can establish. We have looked at your Linux machine. So by default, SSH is what we use to connect to the remote machines. Now, once you're done establishing the remote machines, you just have to write the script. Now, this script will contain your instructions as to what you want to do on the remote machine. So in this case, you want to, you want to install Java, right? So you'll write that instructions in the script. Okay. And then when that script runs, what happens is your the control machine will go ahead and install Java on all those 500 machines. So that is basically where we make use of your configuration managements. Now, when we talk about your configuration managements, obviously there are lots of machines that are available. Tools that are available. So we have the Ansible, we have Chef, we have Puppet, we have SaltStack, we have Juju. So likewise, we have many tools. Now, in our case, we are looking at your Ansible. So Ansible is one of the very in-demand tool that we have when we talk about your configuration management. Now, when we talk about your configuration management, there are two ways that you can work with it. Okay, so one is by making use of your push-based mechanism, and the other is your pull-based mechanism. Okay, now what happens under this is basically your push-based. We don't have any agents. Okay, and the control machine will have to push the script to the remote machines. Like for example, any remote machines you have, if you want to install Java, you'll have to manually execute that script. Okay, so that is your push based architecture. And then we have your pull based architecture. Now under your pull based architecture, what happens is there will be an agent that will be installed on all the remote machines. Okay, so it's an extra step that we will have to do. Now, this agent that we have installed on all the remote machines, what that will do is that will talk to your control machine. So the remote machines will automatically talk to your control machine, and it will try to pull the script from your from your control machine. Okay, so we have looked at that. We have looked at your Ansible installation. We also looked at your architecture. So when we talk about your Ansible, we have two main things. We have the inventory file, and then we have the playbook. All right, now inventory file is basically where we provide all the connection information, and then we have the playbook, which is your script. So we looked at that, and then let me share my screen and let's talk about that. Yeah, so looked at the architecture. We discussed a bit about your inventory file, and then we also looked at how you can connect to your remote machines. Sharing my screen. I hope everyone can see my screen. Yeah. Now, there are two ways that you can work with your Ansible, right? So one is your ad hoc commands, right? And then is your playbooks. Now, ad hoc command is your one-time command. So if you want to like execute the commands on the command line, we make use of your ad hoc commands. And then you have your playbook. So playbook is a script. So when do we use your ad hoc commands? When it's a one-time task, you're not going to repeat it again. So you just want to do it for now. That's it. Playbook, like I said, it's a script. So it's a repetitive work. You'll be doing it again and again and again. That kind of instruction goes in your playbooks. Okay. So where are we? Yeah. So I showed you how you can connect to the remote machines, and then we also looked at the different command line tools we have, the ad hoc, and then we looked at your file transfer, right? So how you can uh, copy the files from your Ansible machine to your control machine, sorry, remote machine. That is where we had stopped. Any questions, any queries? Anyone, please let me know.
No, Ravi. All good.
Okay. So in that case, let's connect to our control machine here. That's the use it 212. Yeah. So that's our Ansible machine. So here you can see Ansible. There's my Ansible, and let's connect to our worker machine. Now, let's say, for example, you want to install. Let's say, let's check what is there on that. So let's check for Java. Okay, so Java version. Okay, so command not found. That means I don't have Java. Now, like this, let's say you have 500 machines. Now you cannot go to individual machine and start running the command one after the other, right? So that's where we can make use of your configuration management. So if I want to install my script, here's the instruction I can use. Ansible all. So all here indicates all of the remote machines. -m is your module. Now, depending on the machine, yum is for your Red Hat CentOS. If it's Ubuntu, we will use apt and then your argument. So the name of the package and what is the state. So present means I want to install. Absent means I want to uninstall. Latest means I want to install the latest version. So present here will check if the package is installed or not. If it's installed, it will not do anything. If it's not installed, it will go ahead and install it. Latest will always install the latest version. Absent will uninstall the version. And then -- become, I'm telling run this instruction as a root user because we're installing something. So we need the admin privilege, right? So we are using this -- become. So now I want to install Ansible. So I'll say, sorry, Java. So Ansible all -m apt because the remote machine, it's an Ubuntu machine. So we need to use apt. And then the name of the package I want to install is Java. Now, for Java, we have this default -jdk and the state I'm telling install the latest version. And then I'm telling become a root user. To run this instruction, become a root user. So we'll run this. Oh yeah, sorry. There's one more thing that we will have to do. I will have to update my inventory file. So, this file, because if you see Ansible -m ping, sorry, -i. So this will not work. Why? Because I stopped and restarted the server, so my IP address has changed. Okay, so this IP address has changed. So I need to update my inventory file. So here, if you see, the IP address has changed. Okay, so I just need that. And let me copy this. And let's comment this out because that machine is no longer available. So we'll first check if you're able to connect to the machine. So yes, we're able to connect to the machine. So you can see we did a ping and we got a pong. Now let's run this command. and sorry, -I hosts unsupported parameter. Okay, let me see. State. Oh, sorry, shouldn't be using hyphen. Now, depending on what you're doing, so here this is basically the output, okay, and it's done. Okay, my Java has been installed. Okay, so it went ahead and installed Java for us. Now, I don't think it was successful. Let me see. Yeah, it was not successful. So let me try this one. Yeah, no, it's working. So what did I use? Default -JDK apt inst. Not four. Do I have to update the machine? Let me try. Ansible all apt. Trying to update the machine. You also have the option of directly running the command. That is what I've specified here. So let's see. I'm just updating the machine and then I'll try installing the Java once again. So now this is done. Let's try this one. Okay, it's taking some time. Let's wait for it. Okay, now it's much better. Now let's go and validate. Okay, so now you can see my Java has been installed. So earlier I was getting this error, command Java not found, and I can see Java has been installed. So like this, if you had 500 machines, on all the 500 machines, my Java will be installed. So that's basically the basic usage of your configuration management. Does it make sense?
Yes, Ravi.
So likewise, you can do anything you want with your managing the packages. You can also manage users. So if you want to create users, create groups, give permissions to your users, all those things can be done. You can also manage services. So let's say, for example, we install Docker, for example. Okay, so again, here you will see Docker will not be there. Okay, so Docker is not there. So let's try installing that. So we'll use this, and here we'll use docker .io. This should install Docker for me. Now, if you remember, your Docker, it follows your client server architecture, right? So once you're done installing the Docker, we'll also need to start it as a service. Only then we will be able to work with your Docker, right? So let's first wait for this Docker to be installed. Okay, so that's done, and we can validate here. You see my Docker is installed, and now if you see the service, so service Docker status, okay, it's running. It's okay, we will stop it. Okay, we can do that also. So here is your instruction. So the module will be service, the name of your service, and then what is the status you want. Okay, we can do that. So Ansible all -m service -a. The name of the service would be Docker. The state, I want it to be in the stopped state, and then I'm telling it to run it as a root user, and then my inventory file. So this will be my inventory file, and this will go ahead and stop the service for us. So now if I check the service, okay, you can see here it says inactive. Earlier, active running, and now it is inactive dead. That means the service is not running. I can go ahead and start this. So again, I'll use the same instruction, but just that we'll use instead of stopped, we will say started. That means I want the status to be started, the service to be started. And this will go ahead and start it. So now if I go and check the service once again, you see the status active running since 6 seconds ago. So we can manage the services as well. So anything you want to do, you can do it from your command line as well. Questions?
No, Ravi. Got it.
Okay, so that's one way. The next way you can work is your playbooks, right? So like I said, playbooks is mainly for your repetitive work. If you have like, any instructions that you want to execute like multiple times in a day, or you'll be doing it again and again and again. For example, your deployments, you'll be doing it again and again and again. That's where we can make use of your playbooks. So playbooks are your files where the Ansible code or the script will be written, and that's the core feature of your Ansible. And this playbook will tell Ansible what needs to be executed on the remote machines. So this playbook, it's a way for us to send your commands in a scripted way. So everything we have done on the command line, we can put all those things in the playbook in a scripted way, and we can send those instructions to your remote machines. So at a basic level, playbooks can be used to manage configurations of and deployment to remote machines. At a more advanced level, they can sequence multi-tier rollouts involving rolling updates and can delegate actions to other hosts, interacting with monitoring servers and load balancers along the way. So there are many possibilities with your Ansible. So playbooks are designed to be human readable and are developed in a basic text language, which is written in your YAML data serialization format. So like how your Docker Compose uses your YAML, Ansible also uses your YAML to write the instructions. Now, when we talk about your playbook, we have four main sections that you will need to understand. We have the target section. So we will have the target section. We will have the variable section. We will have the tasks section. And then we will have your, there's one more section, handler section. Okay, these are the four main sections that you can have within your playbook. Not all of them are mandatory. Your target section and your task sections are important. The other two can be optional. So target section is basically your target, which in this case will be your remote machine. So, where do you want to execute this playbook, as what user you want to execute this playbook, all that information goes in your target section. So as the name suggests, the target, where are you targeting the script? Variable section is used to define your variables. So any variables you want to define that you're going to use repetitively, you can provide that in your variable section. Now that's your main section where you will be defining your tasks. So as to you want to install something, you want to start a service, you want to create a user. So what exactly you want to do, that information goes in your task section. Now handler section is also used for tasks, but it works on a trigger. So I'll explain about this at a later point. Let's first talk about this. Okay, so target section defines the target machines on which the playbook should run. So where you want the playbook to be executed. Variable section, that's optional, but can be used to declare variables that you want to use within your playbook. So any variables you want to define, you can define that in your variable section. And then you have the task section, and that's where your logic, what exactly you want to do on the remote machine, that will be defined in the task section. And your handler section, I'll talk about that later on. Any questions with this?
No, Ravi.
Okay, so this is how your target section looks like. So this is where you specify all the hosts as to where you want to connect or where do you want to execute your playbook. Okay, so let me open up a new file and let me change this to YAML. Now, at any point of time, when you're writing your YAML scripts, we begin with these three lines, which indicates that's the beginning of your script. So the first thing we have to do is we have to define our hosts. So this becomes your target section. So hosts as to where you want to execute this. So remember on the command line we were using on the command line we were using Ansible all. Did someone ping? Okay. Where you want to execute. So remember we were doing this Ansible all, that information goes over here. Now it's not necessary that you have to provide all. Now all is when you want to execute on all the machines, but let's say you want to target only on this particular machines or this machines or only this machine. So all that there's a very different way. So you can use all, which means execute on all the machines. You can just use app server, which will target only the app servers. You can use web server, which will target only the web server. You can also use a specific IP address, which will target only that IP address. Okay, so there are different ways that you can provide this information in your target section. That's up to you as to where are you targeting the playbook. In our case, we'll go with all. That means I want to execute on all the machines. Then become is set to true. Now this is generally if you want to execute your instructions as a root user. Now depending on what instructions you are executing, like installing a package, you need admin privilege. So this can be used to give that admin privilege. And then what method you want to use. So become method, this is sudo. So sudo, we know that it is used to give your admin privileges. So this becomes my target section. Questions?
No, Ravi.
Okay. Next, we are looking at your variable section. So this is where you can define your variables. So this can help you to determine how the tasks on different systems based on the values assigned to these variables. So Ansible variable names should be letters, numbers, underscores, and they should always start with a character. In the playbook, we can give a variable in variable underscore name colon variable underscore value format, and we can use this variable underscore name inside double braces anywhere in the playbook. So how do you declare that? You can declare that in your right after your target section. So this becomes my variable section. So vars is what we use to specify that it's a variable section. Okay, and then you start defining your variables. For example, let's say package one. Okay, let's say default -jdk. Then let's say package 2 and let's say git. So now we are declaring a variable and then the value. Now there's one important thing that you'll have to observe here is the way I'm writing this flag. Now if you see after the colon I'm giving a space, there's a white space. Here also there's a white space. That's basically how we write your YAML. So after every colon, you will see a white space. So here also after colon, the next line, if you say I've given a white space. That is something you will see very commonly in your YAML files. So like this, you can define your variables, whatever you want. So let's say var, or let's say /home /12 index.html, and then let's say my destination would be var html, then let's say package 4, and let's say Apache 2. So declaring the variables, that's up to you. It's user defined, so you can give whatever you want. Questions?
No, Ravi.
Okay. The next section we have is the tasks section. Now that's basically your logic, what exactly you want to do on the remote machines. That information goes in your task section. So this will be my task section. Okay, so tasks. Now You see, I'm using a hyphen. A hyphen is used to specify that it's a new task. Okay, so hyphen, and then we can give a description. So name is used to give a description to this particular task. So something like, let's say, installing. And now let's say I want to call this variable. So to call the variables, we use double braces. Okay, and then the variable name. So basically, when Ansible executes, it will replace this with the value. And then here we'll use apt. The name of the package we want to install would be package1. And then the state, I want this to be the latest. So this is same as what we were doing in the ad hoc, but there's a slight change of how we are passing it. So that becomes one task. Then let's say installing, and then let's say package 2. Sorry. Then again apt name, and then state would be latest. Likewise, so you see here, now we are defining multiple tasks, right? Unlike your ad hoc, where we can execute only one, playbooks can be used to pass multiple instructions. Okay, so state would be latest, and I have one more. So let's say this will be package 4, then apt name equals to package 4, and then state equals to latest. I have a source and destination as well, so I'll put a copy step here. Copy, copy source to destination. Okay, and then we'll use the copy instruction. So src, which is my source, so we'll pass our source, and then dest would be our destination. Okay, and then we'll have one more step, which would be starting service. Let's say package 4. So Apache service, we want to start that. So we'll use service, and then the name of the package would be package 4, and then state, I want this to be in the started state. We'll have one more, which is your Docker. So as you can see here, I'm passing multiple instructions, right? So that's basically what your playbooks are for. So playbooks can be used when you want to pass multiple instructions. Does it make sense?
It will be ad hoc is for only one.
Correct.
One task.
Correct. So you know at a time you can execute only one task. Playbook,
Okay.
a collection of tasks. So this becomes my 3 section. Let's first execute this and see what happens. So click up a new one. So let's trigger this. So now to work with your playbooks, we'll use this Ansible hyphen playbook. So your Ansible understands that we want to execute a playbook. So Ansible hyphen playbook, your inventory file, and then the name of the playbook that you want to execute, right? So we'll have to first create the playbook. So let's call this as first.yaml. So y.yml is basically your YAML, and we'll have this playbook. So here's my playbook. Okay, so it's ready. I think I have an extra space here. Okay, so let's save this, and let's Ansible hyphen playbook hyphen I, my inventory file, and then the playbook I want to execute. And this will start. So you can see play set to all. That means all. So it is also showing me the machine. So you can see gathering facts. So gathering facts, the first thing it will do is it will try to establish the connectivity. So okay. So this is basically the remote machine. So here, if you see the remote worker machine, 52.90.0.187. So 52.90.0.187. And then it started off with the task. So whatever we have given in the name, it uses it as a description. So you can see installing and then the variable. So I had given package one. So it is default hyphen JDK. And here's the output for that. Then again, this is my second task. That's my third task. That's my fourth. That's my fifth. That's my sixth. And this is my seventh. Now the seventh one, if you see, it says failed. And why did it fail? Because it is not able to find this service with the name docker.io. So we have to use service docker start, not docker io start. So like this, now you can see we are able to execute multiple tasks. And here it has a final recap. So this is the machine. There were 7 tasks with the OK status, 2 tasks with the changed status. Unreachable means, not able to connect to the machine. There's 1 failed, 0 skipped, 0 rescued, 0 ignored. Now, if you see OK, that means your Ansible is telling I didn't do anything on the machine. What that means is installing Java is already there, so I'm not doing anything. Git was already there, I'm not doing anything. Docker was already there, I'm not doing anything. Changed means I have done some changes on the remote machine. So installing Apache was not there. So I changed it and I have installed it. You want to copy, so I have copied the new file, which is a change. Starting the service is okay because the service is already running. And then it failed in this particular step. So this is basically what your playbook is. Questions?
Ravi, what if the remote one of the remote machine doesn't have Git? Let's say in this case it says okay, but like in another remote machine the Java was already not there, so that status will be changed, right?
Correct. So here the status will say changed.
Okay. So how will I get to know how will I notice in the manager machine that we have installed on the remote machine?
So this is what will tell you.
Okay, okay, fine.
So if you see okay, that means Java is already there and my Ansible machine did not do anything.
No, I'm asking what if there's another remote machine? Let's say there is 87.
Oh,
What if there is another?
okay. So in that case, if you have 10 machines, it will
Yeah.
show it list out all the 10 machines here.
Okay, all the IP address will be there. Okay, okay, got
Correct.
it.
So, for this particular task, like how you can see first step, it is telling okay for this machine. If you have 10 machines, it will show
Okay,
okay
in below.
all the 10 machines.
Okay, Ravi, understood.
And then proceed to the next task, complete on all the 10 machines. Then the next task on all the 10 machines. So here it will list down all the 10 machines. What is the status?
Okay, amazing.
Any other questions?
No, Ravi.
No, sir.
So this is essentially what your Ansible is really okay. This is what it is capable of doing. Obviously, there are many complex things that you can do, but essentially, this is what you will be doing with your playbooks. You'll be writing some automations, and then you will start executing them on the remote machines that you have. Okay. Now coming to the last section, which is your handler section. Now, handler section is also a task. However, the way you trigger your handler section is slightly different. Now, if you see in this case, okay, now let's say you have a requirement that, so in here, let me show you. Okay, so that's my. Let me connect to the remote machine, or let's say I will hit this. So this is essentially the index.html file we have. Now, if you see here the task, this is the task I have, right? Now, if you see in the task, here is where I am starting my Apache service. Okay, so package for is Apache service. Now, every time I will run this playbook. So let's say here I will go ahead and run this playbook once again. Okay, let's make one change. Hold on. So I'm gonna tell here that I want my service this to be restarted. Okay, so I've set this to restarted. Now let me execute this. Now every time I will run this playbook, my Apache server will be restarted. Though I don't have any changes in the configuration file or in the index.html file, my Apache server will be restarted again and again and again, which is unnecessary. Okay, so how do we overcome that? So I want this to be in such a way that only if there is a change in my index.html file, I want my Apache server to be restarted. If there's no change in my index.html file, I don't want the service to be restarted. Does that make sense? The scenario?
Yes, Ravi, understood.
Now that's where I can trigger my task execution. So one scenario I'm telling you, there are obviously many ways that you can execute it, but that's one scenario we have. Okay, so what I can do is I can define a handler section now. Okay, so we will have our handler section and we will have handlers. Okay, so that's basically what we use to tell that it's a handler section. So here, okay, and then we can give a name to this. So starting service, and then here we will give package 4. Okay, and then the task. So service. So this is what we are going to give. But now how do we trigger? So we won't have this task here, okay, because we have already given it in the handler section. Okay, so we have given the task away. But now how do we trigger this? So we have this keyword called notify. So handlers are a list of tasks, not really any different from regular tasks that are referenced by a globally unique name and are notified by notifiers. Now, which task do you want to trigger this handler task? So in my case, I want this task, the copy instruction, to trigger. So here we will use this keyword notify. Okay, and then the name of your task. Which task do you want to trigger? So in our case, it will be this one. I think I'll have to give it in like this. So whatever you have given in the description, you'll have to pass that here. So what will happen here is my Ansible will check the status of this task. If it is okay, if it is okay, it will not do anything. If the status is changed, it will go to the handler task, search for a task with this name and trigger that particular task. Does that make sense?
Yes, Ravi.
So now let's go back here and we will give our handler section. And then let's comment this out. And then here we will pass the notify. So notify here is very important because that is what will trigger the task. Now, for now, let me just execute the playbook and just show you what really happens. So, again, it will start from the top. Okay. So step by step, installing Apache and then copy. You can see the status. It says okay, the copy status. So my handler did not execute. So you can see starting service is not showing for the Apache. Now let's update my index.html file. So this should update the web app. And let me run the playbook once again. And now you will see that the copy step status will be changed, and that will trigger my okay, because it failed. Okay, hold on. Let me comment this. Let's try this once again. Okay, so you can see here the copy status is changed, and it triggered my handler section. Now let me run this once again. So you can see here now the status is okay. That means I don't have anything new in this file, and my Apache server was not restarted this time. So now we are controlling the task. Only if there is a change, I want certain tasks to be executed. If there is no change, I don't want certain tasks to be executed. That's where we can make use of your handler section. Does it make sense?
Yes, Ravi. But we have to use that notify command.
Correct. So here notify is a very important. That's your keyword. If you don't have the notify, you cannot do anything. So this notify is basically what triggers your handler section.
Okay.
So this notify will check the status of this. Is it okay or is it changed? If it is okay, I'm not doing anything. If it is changed, I'll go to the handler section. I'll take this name. I'll search for a task with that name and trigger that particular task.
Okay, got it, Ravi.
And again, you have to make sure you're passing the proper name over here. If you misspell or give something that is not there in the handler section, again, it will not work.
Got it.
This name and this notify name should match.
Mhm.
So that's about the 4 sections we have. Any questions until here?
No, Ravi.
Cool. I'm gonna stop here. That's essentially what your playbook is. There are few other things that we'll talk about your playbooks, few parameters and all. So we'll talk about that as well. Okay. That's all I have for today. If no more questions, then thank you so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks, Ravi. Take care.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
sir. Thank you.